Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and today's video is a replay that I had in the Khabarovsk, the Tier 10 Soviet destroyer. I'm divisioned up with a couple of my buddies, ElasticSpyder, he's playing in the Gearing, the Tier 10 American destroyer, and my buddy from APOC, Das Boot Camp, and he's playing in the Minotaur, the Tier 10 British light cruiser, and we're playing some domination here on the map Islands of Ice. So, the Khabarovsk, this is a ship that has long been one of the most powerful destroyers tier for tier in the game, and is also, in my opinion, one of the top 3 ships to play at tier 10. The others, and again, my opinion, being the Zhao and the Yamato. These have all been staples of World of Warships for some time, and this is a ship, the Khabarovsk, that you can just get so much out of, and recent patches have actually made this thing a little bit more powerful when the ship was already strong enough as is. With the recent Russian destroyer split, it separated the line into normal destroyers and then so-called destroyer or flotilla leaders. The Khabarovsk represents the Tier 10 version of the destroyer leader line, while the new destroyer Grozovoy represents the normal destroyer. So basically what it means is that compared to those new Soviet destroyers, you have more hit points, you have more AA, you have more guns. You're just a bigger destroyer. That's what flotilla and destroyer leaders are supposed to be, at the expense of some concealment and maneuverability. But the Khabarovsk is, you know, a very, very fast ship. With the speed flag and using the engine boost, you can get up to over 48 knots. So this thing is very difficult to hit. But probably the biggest change that has happened with the split is the fact that the Tier 9 and 10, the Tashkent, which was moved up, and of course the Khabarovsk on the flotilla leader line, have access to damage control, the heal. And why this is important is that you can basically play a light cruiser style of gameplay, speeding around the battlefield faster than anybody else, to be quite frank with you. And you have a pretty solid rate of fire on the ship. It's 4 seconds with the reload equipment piece, which I do run. And also something else to note is recently with 0.6.2 there was new equipment that you could unlock. And one of them is, or excuse me, there's a new consumable. Well, it is a consumable, but it's an equipment piece that can further add on to its potency. And what it allows you to do is it increases your speed boost by 8%. So you're going to notice here when I get detected and pop my speed boost, it lasts for 3 whole minutes. And with a ship that can go up to over 48 knots, that's pretty awesome. It makes hitting this thing at ranges outside of 8-9 kilometers exceptionally difficult. Now I am detected, but I am going to charge down what's over here. There's no enemy ships that are shooting at me, so I feel pretty safe to do so. You can tell the enemy destroyer is in the cap, as the timer has stopped with 51 seconds. However, I think I'm about ready to get a little too close to him, so he's going to decide to pop his smoke. I launch my 2 torpedo tube launchers into the smoke. You get 5 torpedoes in each salvo. They have a range of about 10 kilometers and a speed of just over 60, I believe. So they're not bad torpedoes. It does allow you to stealth torp, which is something that Soviet and Russian destroyers really aren't used to. I'm also going to fire some blind shots here into the smoke, but I do not register any hits. So at the beginning of the game, we decide to head up here to Objective Alpha, and we feel pretty confident. The enemy destroyer has since gotten off the cap, so we only have to wait 10 more seconds before we give our team the early lead. So yeah, doing this so-called light cruiser build, I'll tell you my captain skills right now. You go preventative maintenance for the first one, for the second, obviously last stand, and then you go the 4x3 build where you have demolition expert, survivability expert, and then basic and advanced firing training. So if you go with the full reload, like I said earlier, you get a 4-second reload with 8 guns that can shoot out to 13.5, 13.6 kilometers, and 26,000 hit points. Now the thing about the heal is that if you measure its effectiveness, if you're able to use all 3, or if you go superintendent all 4 heals, your theoretical amount of hit points that you can get back is absolutely staggering. Without superintendent, the hit points that you can get back on 1 heal is, I think it maxes out at about 4,000. So basically speaking, you can get the Khabarovsk potential hit points that you can take over the course of a game to over 40,000. To put that into perspective, that's more hit points than the Tier 9 Ibuki fully upgraded. That's pretty incredible. So here at the beginning, we've already captured Objective Alpha, of course, and now I'm going to get some long-range fire at this enemy Bismarck, and unfortunately for him, he's kind of been abandoned here by the friendly destroyer that was up there with him. And now I'm going to get some cheap damage into this guy as he's trying to turn away. German battleships are notorious for taking massive amounts of damage from high explosive spam to the superstructure, so I'm going to do what I do best in this thing. And you can see here the amount of damage right there, almost 4,000 with a fire set as I hit right in the sweet spot of the superstructure. He burns his damage control immediately, thinking, apparently, that he'd be able to get away from my fire. But again, this thing is so fast, you can control any engagement in the game that you want to go into, except, of course, if you're going against a sneaky destroyer. But at that case, I would suggest to just turn around and run away. So you can see here getting some very effective shots into the Bismarck. I told my buddy Spider that he burned his damage control, so I want to try to see if one of us can get a fire or two set on this guy as more shells fly in on the target. You can see here the rate of fire is actually really good. Again, a 4-second reload. There we go. Get another fire set. It's good. It's really, really good. My buddy Spider manages to get a fire set on that guy too, so now he's going to be bleeding a whole crapload of hit points, and there's really nothing that he's going to be able to do about it. So at this point, our friendly Fletcher has killed the enemy Fletcher with torpedoes. The score is 405 to 261. The enemy team has captured objective Bravo in the preceding time. However, that's exactly where I'm going to go. And you're going to notice here, even with these grid squares 4.8 kilometers length and width-wise, I'm going to be able to go from all the way up here at Alpha all the way down to Charlie in only a couple minutes. And again, that's the strength of this ship, especially when you're going with the light cruiser build. It just makes it extremely difficult to hit, and you're going to see a lot better examples of that later on in the game. So at this point, I just cracked 26,000 damage. The Bismarck is still burning from the fire that I have set. There's plenty of ships that are out of range for me. The Benson just comes into range as he goes undetected. The Benson does kill our friendly Fletcher down at Charlie. However, the enemy team has lost 2 of their 4 destroyers, and that's the thing about playing this light cruiser build. It's very difficult to get into a 1 versus 1 fight and come out successful because you just have such a disadvantage on concealment-wise that if an enemy destroyer does not want to get into a fight with you, they're just not going to. So again, it's something that's a bit difficult, and it's something that you have to be aware of. So definitely the targets of focus that you should be going after in this ship are battleships and to a lesser extent cruisers. Obviously, if a destroyer appears, you want to take the time to take care of them, but I definitely suggest being that harassing destroyer at the long range. And you're going to notice here, I'm trying to stick between 10 and 13 kilometers. At 10 kilometers, it's still far enough away where you're able to get away from enemy shells that get shot at you because you move so fast, but at the same time, you're not getting too close where you're going to put yourself in a position where you're going to lose a lot of unnecessary hit points. Now, also something something else about the Soviet destroyers that is something that I don't think a lot of people know about is the armor-piercing performance on flat broadsides. The fourth salvo lands into the Iowa, 4,200 points of damage done. And you're going to look at just the amount of armor-piercing damage that I'm doing to the side of this guy. 3 salvos, 4,200, 2,800, and 1,200. And once again, the shells are just falling in on the side of this Iowa. And look at the damage that I'm doing. It's almost on average of about 2,900 points of damage a pop. There we go, 4,000. And you can see there just the amount of armor piercing. That was almost 20k right there in about 6 or 7 salvos as I switch my fire now here to this other enemy Iowa, and I'm certainly going to switch back to the armor piercing. I activate my second speed boost of the game, and I'm already up to about 60,000 points of damage. I did get the assisted base cap and a solo one here on Objective Bravo, so very good stuff, but there's still plenty more to do. I light the rear of the Iowa on fire, and again, I'm switching back to the armor piercing, and right there, about 2,000 damage done on that salvo, and these shells just eat into battleship superstructures, and like I said earlier, even against German ones, the damage is even greater. But yeah, an Iowa given broadside like that, the Khabarovsk just, it's able to delete it so quickly, the hit points that is. So I do have the fire on the rear end of the ship, and now since he's angled away, I'm trying to get the high explosive going. I managed to land a double fire on him, so he has 3 fires that are burning right now, so very good stuff right there. He is using his damage control ability, but right now I'm ticking at about 2,500 hit points per tick every couple of seconds, so that guy is certainly losing just a horrific amount of hit points. He is hemorrhaging. I can't say the word right. Hemorrhaging? Alright, I'm just going to stop right there. I'm embarrassing myself. Please pardon me for that. 94,000 points of damage. You can see that the spike right there is just pretty incredible. And I take advantage of this enemy Tirpitz that's on doing the reverse as well. And you can see here, he's shooting at me at very long range. The Iowa shells are well to the rear of me, and the Tirpitz shells also are well to my rear as I'm able to just, quite frankly, outrun them, which is pretty incredible. And now I'm trying to get some fires here on this Tirpitz, which I do so. I crack 110,000 points of damage, so about 60,000 points of damage done there in the last minute and a half as I land yet another fire on the Tirpitz. He's now got 2 going. And you can see here, again, what I've mentioned before, the range as I pick up the Witherer, 10 to 13 kilometers, doing an S, kind of being like a yo-yo. You go in, and then you come back out, and then you go back in, and it just allows you to not only be a pester to the enemy team, a pester, yeah, excuse me, be very annoying to the enemy team, but also deal some pretty significant damage. Now my torpedoes that I launched, again, 10-kilometer torpedoes are going in, and I managed to get a flood on that enemy Hindenburg. Very unfortunate for him, considering that he does have hydroacoustic search, at least potentially. So now I'm going to continue to fire at this guy. Now, I am running away from him because he is closing the distance, and I really don't want to. But then I decide to put my man pants on and turn into this guy because he's since used his repair party. So now I'm going to charge this guy down, and I'm going to let my high explosive do the talking here. I do take a pretty decent hit there, about the first decent hit that I've taken in the game, and do get a turret knocked out, but that's okay because I still have 20,000 hit points. And unless this Hindenburg was to get incredibly lucky with RNG, he's just not going to be able to do an insane amount of damage in a short amount of time. He's still only using his front guns to shoot at me, and I'm able to dodge his front guns as well. So now I'm going to close the distance here. Again, this is something that you should only do in very limited scenarios, as I managed to light him on fire, and then my buddy on the turrets takes him out. So a very nice shot by him right there, and you can see here now I am using my first heal of the game as I continue to burn, but that is a-okay. I'm up to 167,000 points of damage. You can see here just how quickly that damage has added up in a very short amount of time. At this point, this replay that you're watching, I've only played 5 games in the Khabarovsk thus far, and one of them I actually died extremely early in the game and only did 15,000 points of damage, and through 5 games, my average damage in this thing is 138,000. So you can just see that the amount of damage that I've done when I didn't play like an idiot and die at the beginning is insane. I don't want to close the distance to both the Kutuzov and a Tirpitz, considering that Tirpitz does have secondaries that will be able to reach at about 7 kilometers. So I turn in from his shot, pick up the high caliber, easily able to dodge his shells, and I set him on fire a couple times now. He is continuing to burn. He takes a torpedo right on the bow, and I managed to pick up the arsonist and get my first kill of the game, 178,000 points of damage done. More shells are flying in from the Iowa, but look at that. I'm just able to outrun it so much. And even when you're going in a full turn in this ship without the speed, you're still able to do in excess of 37 knots. So again, it's just exceptionally difficult to be able to land solid salvos on this thing. So at this point of the game, it's a rout. The enemy team only has 4 ships remaining. It's 809 to 222. We've had Alpha and Bravo captured for quite some time. Torpedoes are coming in, probably from the enemy Kutuzov. I think he gets 8-kilometer torpedoes. I'm not 100% sure on that. But either way, I'm able to dodge it, no problem. And then I noticed the New Orleans and the Iowa off to my left, within 10 kilometers. So I'm going to turn away from the Kutuzov as I get a couple more salvos out at him. And I'm going to switch my focus to the enemy Iowa. And again, 10 to 13 kilometers. I know I'm hammering it home. Might be a little annoying, but this is exactly what you need to do. Now you're going to also see here, once again, the armor piercing that's going to go out against this guy is going to be absolutely brutal here. 3,600 on that first salvo. Next ones are flying in, only 429, a couple shells ricochet, but then look at the next few salvos that I hit this guy with 3,500. Next salvo that falls in, 3,020. Just insane amounts of damage that you can do with the armor piercing. There we go, 2,600 right there. And yeah, that Iowa just, he simply has to turn away. He has to angle away from me or he's going to get absolutely wrecked. I managed to set him on fire. I'm almost at 200,000 damage. I'm about to crack that plateau right about now. There we go. More shells flying in on the Iowa. Will I be able to get the kill? And again, the rate of fire right here. This Iowa's just screwed. There's literally nothing that he can do to me. Shells fall in. I pick up my second kill of the game, 205,000 points of damage. Switch my fire to the New Orleans, and then the enemy Benson appears at 7.5 kilometers away. So I'm now going to get more shots at him. And once again, this guy is absolutely screwed. There's nothing he can do about it. He could not turn away and run away from me. I pick up the Confederate. More shells are flying in. I managed to hit quite a few more. He's left on 300 hit points, and I'm going to end the game with my third kill on the enemy destroyer. What a game here in Khabarovsk. Guys, taking a look at the post-battle results, almost 500,000 credits received and 6,600 total XP earned. Confederate, Witherer, Arsonist, and High Caliber, the 4 medals that stet competitors like me always enjoy getting. 209,000 points of damage done off of 432 shell hits and 1 torpedo, 3 ships sent to the bottom, 14 fire set, 1 solo cap, and 1 assisted base capture. Taking a look at the team score, 2,205 base XP, tops on the team. Pretty good performance by both ElasticSpyder and my buddy Das Boot as well, each picking up a kill. So we got almost half of the kills for our team, and it was a fantastic performance. Now, I will like to tell you guys now that Spider is going to be doing this ship as well. That's the reason why this is titled Part 1. So he'll have another Khabarovsk gameplay coming up for you next Monday. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and maybe subscribe to the channel. All of it is appreciated. And with that being said, the Sneaky Snake here for Brothers in Arms World of Warships, signing off. Have a great day.